Hello, this is Dr. Scott Young, and today we're going to talk about the pre-NESARA timeline. Now, we're going to go from the fake Biden to the inauguration, and coming up right just a couple seconds. But let's get started here. All right. So if you didn't see last week's episode, you need to kind of go check that out and I made some updates to this too. I'm making up updates and I'm fixing up some things here too. So let's bring it here up on the screen. So it always takes me a second here to kind of make sure we get it up here. PowerPoint. And there we go. Okay. So again, this is pre and post NESARA. So we kind of want to go over this. And someone said a couple things. It's pretty funny. Someone said, "Well, that's old." Yeah, we're trying to kind of get you updated so you know what's going on, right? Okay. So here we go. Let's get that in going here. Oh, there we go. There we go. Had to push the button there. All right. So what we did last time, this is the U.S. corporation timeline. I'm just kind of click through this really fast here, bring it up here. So again, this is January 2017. And I'm going to fix a couple things that we did, made a mistake on, or sorry, I made a mistake, not we, geez. Because if you made a mistake, you didn't make a mistake. I did. There was a couple things I wanted to point out. Made a mistake that I said when I was talking about this on the election kind of thing. Is that I made a statement that Biden was from New Hampshire, and I was like, and I said that wrong, and really, he's from Delaware. Of course, I was wrong on that one. And somewhere I said that I used a reference of Herbert Hoover as the what was he? I think I said something about Herbert Hoover was the FBI director, which of course is wrong. That was a horrible statement, and that's really it was J. Edgar Hoover. Okay, so again, when we were talking about this, so again, what we were talking about here, January 2017. This is Trump's timeline, the anti-cabal. We were talking about the Vegas Falls flag. We were talking about the things that he did. It brought on the executive orders that are really good preparatory for the JASARA inclusion. And the deep state started freaking out about everything. And then in March of 2020, he brought on the death knell of the PPP loans. Okay. And then they started freaking out about this. And they gave them Joe Biden that brought on the November 2020, all the election and voter fraud that they came through with it. And then we had the Great Reset, which you guys don't realize the Great Reset died, and they stole money from the Fed, which is they're still doing it as we're speaking today. And then we're going to talk a lot more about the devolution of the U.S. corporation more today. So let's move forward in this kind of thing. Okay. So now we're going to talk more about the fake takeover of the shadow government. Now, if in the first time frame, what we were talking about is where Trump was in office, right? Where he was in office, and we had Obama being, the shadow government kind of thing. over Trump. Well, now Trump is kind of the shadow government with this. So he gets to sit back and do that. Now, I know that some people talk about Biden Obama, Obama being the shadow, president for Obama. I mean, Obama being the shadow president for Biden. I get it. Yes, in essence, he is. But really, Trump is the one that is the real CIC, and we'll talk a lot more about that issue. So the devolution occurs one day after. Now, I wanted to take you back in time. So we're at November 4th, and we go and do. We're at the election kind of thing. Now, even in the Tulsa area, normally Tulsa or sorry, Oklahoma votes like 95% um, uh, Republican. I mean, it did in 2016. But in 2020, which it was still running very strongly toward, it has the same feeling strongly toward Trump. It was only 60-40 Trump. And that made no sense because it was not that way for every other kind of thing. All the other indicators were still toward Trump, but it was hijacked in many other ways. And some of the hijacks were very, very funny. I mean, sick funny. For instance, a friend of mine, she was at the polls and she was trying to like take her ballot. And supposedly, now I wasn't at the poll because I actually got a that type of mail-in ballot, the legitimate type of early balloting, right? So I did my perfect early balloting where you get the ballot, you have to have the perfect registration, you have to do all the extra stuff to do this thing, right? So anyway, because I normally get super busy at that time frame, so it's hard for me to go to do the voting at that time frame. So anyway, so she's telling me a little bit about this. A friend of mine, Sue, and she goes to the ballot and she tries to shove it in there and it won't go. And she tries it a couple different ways and she's trying to figure this out. She can't figure out why it's not working. And then another woman tries to go up there and she says, and the woman that's running the ballots there, she goes, "Oh, just leave it over there to the side and I'll put it through later." And Sue says, "No, I'm going to wait until you put it through." And so there it runs into 3 and 4 and 5 women, she says, are just waiting there. And finally the poll worker comes over and just gets all huffy and just reaches behind the machine and flicks it on, turns it on, and then everyone's able to put their ballot through. She had turned off the machines. That's how ridiculous this was. And I want to tell you guys, you guys don't realize what's coming for these idiots down the road is and the executive order, we talked about this last time, the executive order 13848, what's coming for these idiots down the road, there is going to be massive problems for these morons who have been hijacking elections over and over again. They are going to jail for 10, 20, 30 years, and they are going to be in such major trouble for this. But one day after the election, there was a very interesting conversation. Chris Miller of the DOD stands up and he's giving a talk. And my wife and I were watching it with weird kind of fascination, like say something good. And he gets up there and talking about, in essence, what we realized only later by learning from the very fascinating Derek Johnson, is continuity of government. And what he's talking about is how they are protecting the Constitution. And that's actually what he's talking about. It's actually what he's giving information about. It's wildly fascinating. And we're listening like this, going, "What are you saying, bud?" And he's talking about the Constitution and how they're protecting, you know, the election. And I'm going, I don't understand. And we're we're sitting there going, but why aren't you doing anything about it? And I really wish, people would go back and listen to it. It's one day after the election. Now, Patel Patriot, I remember one time I said it was uh, um, uh, Cash Patel. I was wrong. Patel Patriot actually does a 13-part series called um, Devolution. And it was a devolving of the government. And the reality is that Biden had no ability for most of the cabinets. What most people don't realize, he has no ability to run most of the government because the DOD took most of it away from him. And you don't realize that. Most of the abilities, he has nothing out there. So that's why they were letting him just be that fake figurehead, and really not in positions that you're out there. So he's sort of there, just in name figurehead in some positions. So they could do the real president, the CIC could really do the underground real work out there. Okay. Oops, sorry. Um, so one of the things that happened is that Biden was arrested. Now let's see if I can bring this up here and see if I can kind of get that to go here. I got to bring it over here. Let's see if I can add this to the stream. I'm going to overlay this because I want to bring this out here. Um, this is a fascinating picture. Now, a couple things that are happening here. This is one. I want to bring you a couple of interesting parts here. I don't want you to worry about this one. This one's right after he was elected, and we'll come back to that one later. But I want you to focus in on this was happening probably a couple days, I think it was, after he was uh, elected. And so he's president elect. Now, a couple things I want you to focus on is this little boot down here below. Now, supposedly he had broken his ankle. Now, it's supposedly a small fracture. Now, let's give you a little bit of background. If you have a first degree sprain, there is no freaking way you would step your foot down coming out of an SUV and stepping off of SUV and stepping up. We're not just stepping off, but you're stepping up out of this. This is not a Photoshop at all. This is definitely the fake Biden out there, okay, doing this. And so this is just craziness. This would ever be him, okay? Um, and first off, there's just no freaking way. Now, what we do know about this is that we've seen people in this position be arrested. So what they have is they have a tracker down here, an arrest tag, and when that way they do that, they put the little ankle bracelet down here. So he was arrested. The actor position was actually arrested. So let me take off that in the screen here. Let me get this one back up to the screen. So he was arrested. And I wanted to show you that one there so you could really see he really was arrested. Um, and so and it's the actor that's arrested. It wasn't the real person that was arrested. Um, Actors are told what to do. Now, let me go backward here. I'm going to bring this back up here again to the stream. Sorry, I'm going to share with you again. Here's an actor, and we want to show you actor issues. Okay. Now, guys, I want to share with you. I'm going to take a quick drink here. You're talking to an audiologist. What is that? I'm an expert in ears. I know the anatomy from the neck up. Now, if you look at the neck right here, this is the Joe Biden of the early 2000s. This is the newer Joe Biden. Now, the pinna is everything of the outside of the ear. Okay? The pinna, everything of the outside of the ear. Okay? Right up here is called the helix. Obviously, this is the earlobe, and right here is the intertragal space. Intertragal space. Okay, when you think of that particular thing, but this detached portion of the earlobe and attached portion of the earlobe. These are genetic traits of a person. Now, when we see a genetic trait of a person, it indicates you could go through a family and say that's a genetic trait of that person or of a whole family line of that. Okay. And so when I have talked to people, I would say, and I look at people, I would say, well, that's a genetic trait of a particular, family of people. And when they show you this one versus that one, that literally tells you they are not the same person. So then I've had people say, "Oh, well, he had plastic surgery." First off, you never ever change with plastic surgery the ear right here. I don't care what kind of plastic surgery you could ever come up with to the jowl line, no matter what kind of plastic surgery, you cannot or you would never ever touch the attached or detached earlobe. That is literally a different level of ear. And other things that we could talk about is the way that his eyes are shaped here. We have a different shaping of eyes. We have a different shaping of how the nose droops down. I mean, we have the different forehead to every little thing. This is not the same guy. We have an actor. On top of this, my God, guys, let's give you the word for word thing of April 6th. We cannot let this weave never allowed any crisis from the Civil War straight through the pandemic of 17, all the way around 16. We've never ever let the democracy's sake second fiddle way we can have both a democracy and elections at the same time. What? What in hell are you talking about? And why is it that I have to say something about that? Why don't we have reporters pushing him and saying, that is the dumbest thing you could possibly say? And that is a direct quote from that kind of stuff. But see, here's the point: actors only are told what to do. Let me give you another funny point. Jen Psaki was his original um, uh, um, press secretary. Sorry, I also lost her name, lost her title. She actually made a faux pas one time. Now, it might have been an honest faux pas or not, but she actually made a faux pas. And one of the things that she said is that he works for me. I was like, "What do you mean he works for you?" And she said, "Well, he works for me." And when you look back at her life, she was a talent. She works at a talent agency. She actually hired actors. What if she actually hired all the actors? And we know that the neckline of Kamala tells us that she actually wears masks. And we know that Kamala, that isn't the same Kamala. What if Jen Psaki was the talent agency that put in all the actors in place in the White House? What if that's the possibility? Well, that is a very strong possibility. So the actors are telling them what to do. So the remaining deep state cabal are operating illegally under Trump's emergency orders. See, they're doing the job, but they're doing it under the illegal orders anyway. And see, they're actually going to have their hiney kicked as well, too. Okay. So let's move on to the next phase. Now, there's a fascinating part too. The the Q drops, now they don't fully stop, but the Q drops actually on the Chan were ending at the same time frame. Now, the funny part is that we now they did come back a little bit, but they were normally dropped dropped away pretty much in the December time frame and this time frame, and they dropped away because they basically said, you don't need us for the most part. Now, it's funny because what most moronic reporters don't actually look at is what a Q clearance really means. No, any one reporter could actually look this up, but no one bothers to look this up. Even in the newest Oppenheimer film, Oppenheimer was the first person who actually came up with a nuclear bomb, right? The first atom bomb. And he was actually, it says it right in the film that he comes up with, he actually was told that he was given a Q clearance. To have a Q clearance is to have atomic ability or a nuclear capability in that. So anyone who has Q clearance has an atomic or nuclear capability with that. So anyone who has a nuclear football is carrying that around. What I find hysterical is that no one in the Biden White House, you worry about Biden dropping a nuclear bomb. No one in the Biden White House has the ability to drop the bomb. Have you thought about that one just for a second? He can't carry the nuclear football because he's an actor. Actors don't have the ability to have Q clearance, so they don't have a nuclear football running around with him because he's illegitimate. We're not talking about Ronald Reagan, who is legitimately elected. We're talking about an actor who isn't legitimately elected. And the DOD, through the devolution process, proved that point. Don't worry about it. Now, in January 6th, we have a fake break in. Think Watergate. Watergate was a fake break in by the CIA. It was to set Nixon up because Nixon didn't want to play along. Actually, Nixon was trying to find out what the JFK thing was about. When you understand there's something very nefarious going on in the world right now, I don't understand why RFK Jr. is around. And if you just think a little bit why RFK Jr. is around with Biden, who might be the shooter up in the sixth story of the book school depository, that should mess you up. That should make you be going, what? If Biden is, and you have RFK doing this thing. What? Um, the January 6th thing is such a disaster, a sickness that we need to fix. It is one of the grossest things, and I hate it every minute of it because of the January 6th people who are still in prison right now. But it leads to the boomerang effect of Nancy and actually every single complicit person in the Republican and Democrat area. Now, I have personally had communication with James Langford in the Tulsa area. That POS, that's all I can say. I'm sorry about being this way, but he was up speaking when the supposed break-in occurred, and I asked him about the time frame of this, and without going through the time frame, because you guys can do the time frame, there's no way the time frame actually worked, and he laid out the fictional time frame instead of the real time frame. They're all complicit. You got to take them all down. Every single one of them in January. Or sorry, in DC. There's not one of them that are worth anything. They all got to go down. They all got to go. And here's the reality. When you understand that the Capitol was shut down, and we think of it as the Capitol shut down as like because they were protecting it, and some people think the Capitol shut down was because we had so many people march on the Capitol, and people talk about it as like 9/11 kind of thing and how bad it was. And I'm like, you guys don't understand. You're not paying attention. It has nothing to do with a 9/11 kind of thing. No one died there. No one died in that. What they really did is they harmed a whole bunch of people and they put people in jail for almost 2 years now, or over 2 years now. It is disgusting, and I'm praying that those people, when they release them from jail, and then they give them a fat old settlement of money, and put statues up for them. But here's one of the things that you're going to find about that is that what all they had to do, and the Brunson case is such a gorgeous case, because all it basically says is, by the procedures of their own capabilities inside of the legislation, is that all they had to do is take 10 days from January 6th to January 16th, all the way up to that time frame, and just talk about the potential of the fraud. That's all they had to do. Talk about it. Openly have the conversation and openly look at the evidence. Now, Langford started to talk about this. Some of those people did. They started to talk about it, and it was shut down. And he was shut down too. And they shut down all of that kind of stuff. The Brunson case says, because you didn't do it, every one of you, which it means every one of you and your staff members, have to be wiped off the map. So you have to be taken out, you have to be walked out, and you're gone. And don't believe that when the EBS comes, that they will show a complete wipeout of everyone out. See, when SCOTUS really does rule, when the EBS is ready, they will be wiped out, or SCOTUS will just be wiped out, and the military will take over that thing. Because listen, all of them are complicit. This is how mad I am over this issue. Now, what leads to the cabal are violate in complete violation of the Constitution, and it goes into the fake inauguration. You see, you cannot go to the inauguration, and you cannot have the inauguration on January 20th, and do it until noon Eastern time. But they did the inauguration of the idiot vice president before, like, she thinks she was yapping at 11:30, and Joe Biden's going at 11:49. I mean, he's doing his little thing, putting his hand on a satanic Bible. Um, and I did a video, and I did the video wrong, so I'm gonna put it out to you too. I did this video wrong. And Derek will tell you about this, but there were three guns, and they what they did is they didn't fire off they didn't fire off the first gun, but they only fired off two guns, which was a dead man type of situation. So in essence, what they were doing is they were making fun of him, and it was really a funeral dirge in essence. How they did it, and even the music they played was a funeral dirge to Biden. And the military people that were waiting along with Pence, and by the way, Pence was down in front. There was a military supposed military man with no insignia on, which is completely out of ordinary. Um, and when that happens, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's just so many things that were so wrong. And one of the things that's fascinating about this, and I went back and back checked this. This actually happened over 2 days early. They filmed this early. There were friends of mine who were there and told me that things they weren't singing on the day of the 20th. The singing happened early. Th- This didn't happen in the way that you think it did. And I know you're thinking that just can't be the case. It is. Guys, it didn't happen the way you think it happened. You'll learn about this. You'll hear about it. Trust me. All of these idiots are so guilty, it's not funny. It's too easy. And I know you look at it and just going, and some of you guys are depressed. Some of you guys are mad because NESARA hasn't hit. And I'm going, you know what? You're in the middle of a war. You got to fix the military. You got to let the military do the thing. Calm down. Yes, it's way longer than I wish it would have been. Yeah, it's August what? 14th, 2023. I got a little thing over there, so I'm looking at it. Yeah, I don't want it to be this long. I'm up at 4:30. Right now it's 5, what is it? 5:15. I mean, I wish it was already done. I've been up since 4:30 in the morning praying over this circumstance. But holy cow, guys, calm down. The military's working this stuff. This is a military financial operation. This is going to get done. I have 100% trust in this. You got a competent and excellent CIC with a real military. Don't think about those idiots in DC as the that's the fake military. You got a whole bunch of actors that you see on TV. Turn off the TV if it's making you that mad. Turn off the social media. You know what? When I get frustrated and mad, you know what I do? I have a whole bunch of YouTube on my YouTube channel. I just have this worship and praise, and I just get into worship and praise until I calm down. That's what I do. It's simple. I know what's going to happen. It's just got to take time. Okay? Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the promise of things unseen. The timeline, it's going to happen. It's going to get done that way. Okay. So just trust, be okay. So I'm going to just drop this off the screen. I promise you it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. Okay. NESARA is going to happen. It's going to get done. So if you want to see a little bit more, you can go on. I have Revelations of the Red Pill on my website of drscottyoung.com. You can kind of get that. You also have NESARA outline on there as well. You can kind of go download it. There's a lot of information in there too, guys. There's a lot of stuff that we can do to help you, but we're just there for you. Okay. Thanks so much.